Well guys, it's week. I lost track. Back at it with the T-Bucket Nightmare. All right, so we're on weekend, well, actually I would say week number 3 of this nightmare that was only actually supposed to take a couple days, but it's kind of snowballed, and I think we're at a point now we can try to put the heads back on after last weekend's repair. If you didn't catch that, I'll put the, wherever YouTube puts their dumb little shortcut links there, but I'll put that up for y'all. But I said we grab some heads and let's hope we don't strip out any bolts. So with our repair that we did in our last video for this engine build, I've let the Loctite set for actually a couple days. Took a little break from it for a little bit. But since we got 99% done with our head installation last time, I'm sure these holes are pretty gunked up, so I want to go through and chase them really quick. That way we get all the junk out of here, and then we're going to start with a fresh head build. And we got like 40 some holes to do. It's gonna be an exciting video. Just kidding. Not gonna make you guys watch all this now. So, cleaning it out, I can only imagine what that jacket on the inside looks like. Jesus. And this is the last one on the passenger side. So, don't see any other repairs we have to make. Fingers crossed. Man, I probably should have labeled what side was up when I pulled it off, but it'll be all right. I hope. Where's that peg at? You know, with the amount of tools I got on the ground, it's like a bomb went off underneath this T-bucket. There we go. Tell you what, they go on a lot easier after they've already been off and on 20 times. All right. So we're going to go ahead and reuse the same bolts here. We never got a full torque out of them, and they are not spring load torque to yield. So we're going to throw them in. Plus it'd be another week and a half, 2 weeks, and $200 to get new bolts in. We've gone this far, right? We're going to follow our same circular outer pattern. Get these kind of set in. And we can start our torque sequence. Steps backwards. All right, let's take this out here. See if we can figure out what the hell's going on with this bolt. All right, let's set that one aside. We're gonna use that one for the hole. Let's put this back on here. Drop this head back on. It's like once you get the head on, you can't get it to thread in. All right, head back on again. All right, and she comes off again. This should not be this hard. There we go, it's working now. Ish. All right, we're gonna go, so I'm gonna use my manual torque wrench here, but we're just gonna go digital. And so it begins. Come on, baby. Whew. All right. Where are we at? Helicoil bolt, come on, baby. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Feel like we need to. Woo, woo. All right. Everything's bolted in. We're good. We're torqued down. Really, the only other torquing that we have to do, which we'll cross that road when it comes time, is take the valve covers off once we put some minutes on it, maybe a couple miles or so, and then retorque everything down just to make sure we are still set. Really glad those repairs are holding. Now, the only thing that we could run into is leakage, but I don't think we're gonna have too much issue on that at all. All right, well, I think it's time we can go ahead and install our lifters here. I think this bag has a hole in it though, but got some comp cam break-in goo. Must use this product to avoid, yeah. Comp cam doesn't actually warranty their stuff. They're notorious for that. Even if you follow their break-in procedures, they will never warranty it for you. I know that firsthand. Oh no, this one doesn't fit in the hole. No, I'm just kidding. Can you guys imagine? Be drilling out another hole here. Just kidding. At that point, I think we would, we'd be done with the block. You know, Comp Cam, I don't know if I said this, actually has a manufacturing issue with their lifters. So fingers crossed we don't have any issues with this thing here, because there's dozens, well, I wouldn't say dozens, there's forums are filled with tons and tons of situations where people rebuilt using Comp Cam lifters and the lifters failed and Comp Cam won't essentially do anything about it unless, well, they say it has to be professionally installed, but you hear that people get it actually professionally installed and then Comp Cam comes up with a reason to not actually warranty it out. Imagine that. We need to go ahead and install some push rod guides here. Some guys don't actually install these, or they don't replace them, or they use the old ones. And essentially I know what route I'm gonna go, but kind of wanna know in the comments section below, are you guys running them? If you're running them, well, we know why. It stops the lateral movement of the push rod as it goes up, but for those of you that actually remove them or don't use them, I'm curious to what your reason why is. I mean, it's a little bit of added insurance. Now, some heads don't require them, and the Flowtech ones, who knows if they require them, but they did come with them, so we will put them on. But let me know in the comments section below for you guys that, you know, don't replace them or don't use them. So it looks like for our studs that are going to go in, we have 4 blind holes, and then we have 4 pass-through holes that go right, I think so, what, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have to make sure we actually seal those up, otherwise we're going to have water that's leaking all over the place there. Starting to run out of this stuff here. All right, so for this we're just using 5/16 hardened push rods. So I believe they're about 100 thousandths over. We could have gone with 150, but did a little bit of reading and it's pretty extreme valve clearance right there. So we're sticking pretty close to stock. I mean, we're still gonna have a lot more lift with the cam, but nothing that's absolutely insane. May have a little bit of valve overlap. I forgot what the numbers were on this, but at a higher RPM, we'll get a little bit of valve overlapped. I forgot what the percentage was, but I'll look that up again so we can look at those numbers. It'd be cool if they give you like an extra one, you know. I wonder who actually makes these. I'm using house brand Speedway hardened steel push rods. So they're probably made Trick Flow? So I know Speedway ain't making them themselves, so they're rebranded from somebody. But looking at them now, they look just like, yeah, they look like one of the big brands. Probably is. Just rebranded with their own logo and stuff on it. So like I mentioned in the, well, part 1 of our build video, we're just using some PRWs, some anodized, self-adjusting. They got a pretty sweet guide there that keeps them right on point as well. So once these are on and once they're adjusted, we shouldn't really have to do too much once they're in. So we got to make sure these are perfectly aligned on the guides. And got some feeler gauges here, so it's 5/1000ths on our clearance on both sides before we tighten down. And then we'll check it again, make sure we're where we need to be. Let's see where we're at here. All right, that's gonna work for us. All right, let's slap some rockers on here. We'll double check, make sure they're, well, centered as they're gonna get. Because the guide that's on the roller part, they can't push onto the retaining ring. Typically, if they didn't have that little guide there and you didn't have them perfectly centered there, they could actually roll off and slip and they fall right onto the retaining ring itself for the spring. All right, so dummy me, not really paying attention, and even though I mentioned it at the beginning of the video, can't believe I did this. We're using self-aligning rockers. Why would we need push rod guide plates? It's one or the other. We can get rid of these cool things, just do some old school roller rockers, or we use these, get rid of the guides. So yeah, mistake on my part, not paying attention. Guides got to come off. And self-aligning, yeah. So not sure what I was thinking. Let's take these off really quick. I didn't bolt them on, they're just setting up here for aesthetics purposes. But at least now you know how to set your push rod guide plate clearance. So at least there's that, right? The self-aligning part, you only want 2 points of alignment, and that can be the rocker and the actual lifter itself. You don't want 3 being, well, the lifter, the guide plate, and the rocker itself. So again, you got to pick one. We're going to pick the one that's on this PRW or PRC or whatever brand this is, and we're going to stick to that there. All right, getting close on this project. It's pretty cool. And let's get this. And on the passenger side, same thing. No guide plates. These are going to get torqued out to 45 as well. Just closer we get to being done with this, I'll tell you what, I'm getting more and more excited. Bet you we'll have 100 horsepower more when this is all said and done. So check out this intake manifold here. When I bought the motor, the guy unloaded tons and tons of stuff on me, and I forgot that he'd actually given this to me. I just painted it and then cured it in the oven, but essentially it's a free 4-barrel intake Edelbrock Performer intake manifold. So that'll look really, really good. Let's get a valve cover on there really quick to see what it looks like. Throw one of our Flash Shark valve covers on here. See how we're looking. Whoa. So I didn't want to bore you with reinstalling things that we already, uninstalled in part 1. If you're curious on how this stuff comes together, I'll put the link up there for you there. But yeah, I ended up changing the rear main seal, got that taken care of, and then added a new pan gasket. Look at this. So I was thinking that maybe I was just going to remove the oil pan and scoot it out. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. So I ended up having to jack this whole thing up. I loosened up, which I'm going to have to actually remember we bolted back on. I ended up loosening up the transmission bolts in the back on the tail housing, pulling both these bolts up, and jacked it from the front of the crank as much as I could to kind of finesse that oil pan out of there. But we're locked and loaded. We're ready to go ahead and fill it up with some oil because we need to install the intake manifold here. So I'm not going to use any zinc additive just yet. We're going to be using essentially Shell Rotella oil, which has a pretty high zinc content in it for the diesels, which is a really good break-in oil for this as well. So I've been looking forward to this part right here. Now that we're all primed up, ready to go. Still got to put the alternator on. I'm going to be running a Holley 4-barrel there. Take a look how big that thing is compared to... Actually, let me get my 2-barrel that was on there. You know, for the size of a T-bucket and the weight, I mean, come on. Look at the difference in this. That's much bigger, but I have to say though, a 2-barrel was plenty power for me, especially considering the weight of this thing. But now that we got some nice high flow aluminum heads, pretty sick cam in there, this thing is just gonna scream, I think. Maybe this time it'll actually truly burn rubber in the back end. We'll find out. I don't know. Tires are about 500 bucks a piece now. I have to keep it a little easy.